We are back again. Let me see. Oh, one. We're back again. This for coming right back at you. It is again that time. It is our October TV update where we with all the great things going on in the world of television. And who better to do that than our good friend? She is one of the mainstays of the TVRatingsGuide.com. You got to check out all the great stuff that they're doing, including ratings updates, reviews, articles, also as well original content that you can check out all right there at the TVRatingsGuide.com. It is my good friend. It is Jessica Boggs. Jessica, back again.
Back again for October.
That's right. That's right. And this is an update I think a lot of people look forward to when it comes to the early returns and the early results of not only not only the new shows, but also the regular recurring shows, some of which were on the fringe, some of which were doing well, maybe not doing so well, some of which may have gotten an uptick. But for now, overall, I think on broadcast television as a whole, I think attendance and viewing is a little bit down, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it's actually pretty down overall. Not just a little, but kind of like a few tenths down. And that makes a difference.
And I'm not surprised on that because the fact that there's all those streaming alternatives and it's just going to get even worse with Disney and Apple and NBC Universal and Warner Brothers all coming on the way with their own streaming services. So there's just going to be more and more pulling as far as more and more pulling away from the broadcast and cable networks out there. So definitely something to be wary of going forward. And I think that number is still going to trend down in the near future as well. So be that as it may, people are still watching somewhat to an extent. So I want to hear your thoughts. What's going on first off with the broadcast networks and ABC? Because we did talk about before we went on air about some shows that were doing not quite as well, but one of the new shows that I know you're going to talk about is ticking up, and it's ticking up at as far as from its debut in a good way as far as the +7s as well.
I think what Stumptown is, I feel like, Stumptown is getting a lot more on delayed viewing than it would on than it actually would with Emergence in there. Emergence this week ticked down to a 0.5.
I know, there I am. I know that my face is finally visible at this point in time. But yes, Emergence is down. I know that's something a lot of people were talking about, the disappointing returns for Emergence so far. I didn't find a great interest in it. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought the show was weak overall. I think a lot of people are seeing that as well. But with Stumptown, the +7s, and when I mean the +7s, this is up 7 days after initial air time and air run. So let's say when it runs in its time slot, the people that are watching it on a delayed basis an after first viewing basis, this is one of the strongest shows of the new shows right out of the gate. In fact, it is number one of the +7s. So I know a lot of people with its time slot are not able to see it initially, but they are sure checking out long term, the day after. So they're making an effort to watch this show, which is a good sign for the future, at least as far as if it's on the fringe rating wise.
Yeah, that's what we're still watching on Stumptown. I know Single Parents definitely got renewed, mostly because of delayed viewing, but that's its lead-in, and it's not doing well either, not making a case, and that kind of like hurts Stumptown a little bit, but at least Stumptown has an excuse compared to Emergence.
Well, so far I've liked what Stumptown has had to offer. I've watched all 3 episodes. I think this is a show that I think will be something that a lot of people can really get into. So I do recommend it. It's not perfect, but it does have a charm. And, and I think that this is something that Colby Smothers will actually be able to go ahead and get some notoriety for, because as Maria Hill, she doesn't always get the love I think a lot of people want or hope that she gets. But you know what? In this role, I think, because she's a star and up front right there, I think this is a chance for her to break out in a role that's, I think, very suited for her skills. But there's a show on the ABC network that I want you to talk about. It's almost like you, I think, like you coined it. It's an end of an era for this ABC comedy.
Oh, yes. Modern Family this week hit its first fractional. Poor thing. And it's in the 11th season, which is the final season.
So they're pretty much going to be going through the motions at this point in time until you get to those final 2 or 3 episodes where you might see an uptick, because they'll start advertising it as the third to last episode, or only 2 episodes left, or the final episodes and things of that nature, where you might see an uptick from there. But it's a very disappointing end to what many people thought was a very good series for 11 seasons. So tell me so tell me now where we're going as far as CBS is concerned. I mean, how are they overall? Because, this has been a point of contention over the past couple of years for you and I, as far as the network as a whole and their status quo, don't change much style approach to the way they view television. So I want to hear your thoughts on how well they're doing and some of the shows that they're going to go ahead and some of the shows that they have right now on the network.
Overall, tepid. Mondays, they were down, with Bob Hart's Abishola settling in at a 0.7 and All Rise settling in at a 0.6. And then you get Tuesdays being the only night that's doing well overall despite declines. And then there's SWAT and SEAL Team. They both premiered pretty low too. SEAL Team with an excuse for a 0.7, and SWAT hitting a new series low at a 0.6. Moving on to Thursdays, the results on Thursday comedies were, oh my goodness, Young Sheldon premiered to a new low a couple weeks ago, and now it's like settling in the low ones, which affected the rest of the comedies. And then there's Fridays, which is a bigger point in contention. You get Magnum PI with a 0.6, dragging down Blue Bloods with it.
Well, I think you were surprised with that Magnum PI got renewed for another season, and it looks apparent why. It was on that fringe. Many people thought that was going to be canceled, and it looks like it doesn't have a long life left unless something happens to it. And Blue Bloods has been a mainstay on Fridays for some time now, and if it gets dragged down because of it, that's not a good sign. But overall, the numbers, when you hit 0.6, 0.7, those are fringe numbers depending on the type, depending on the time slot that they're in. 0.6 may not be bad in one case, especially for later hours, but for definitely the 8 and 9 o'clock hours, 0.6, 0.7 is when you have to start sweating it out, whether you're going to be carried long term. So anything right around there is just like, from what I've seen of your experience from your writings and your reports, says that anything right around that range, 0.6, 0.7, definitely these shows have something to worry about long term. But going into NBC, I know that they had some shakeups at the front, at the top, as far as Bonnie Hammer and other executives for NBC, changing everything around as far as Universal, as far as the whole 9 yards when it comes to Sci-Fi, shaking up that, USA overseeing that, the new Universal network that's on the way, and then also as well NBC. But for NBC right now, even with all the shakeups, how is it doing overall, and what shows are working out so far, or not?
Well, actually, the newbies so far are not really working out. Like, you got Bluff City Law hitting a new series low at a 0.6, which is not exactly on the fringe, but kind of bad for a drama unless you're the Blacklist. Kind of like this year's The Enemy Within. We all know what happened with The Enemy Within. It got canned. And then Chicago Night and This Is Us. Everything is mostly pretty much steady. But on Thursday night, that's where trouble happens. And You got Sunnyside that 1 week fell to a 10 to a 0.3. Abby's numbers. And many TV prediction sites are predicting a cancellation, either a near certain cancellation for that. And then Blacklist scored like a 0.5, 0.6. It did okay, but just not setting the ratings world on fire.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And then I know that you said that execs, even with all the changes up top in the executive branch that's there at NBC Universal, with all the with all the reshuffling due to the fact that, again, like I said, the issues with the cable networks, especially Sci-Fi, which is really in disarray, but also as well you have the new Universal streaming content that's coming very soon. All that going on. In all that, NBC sounds like overall that they should be happy with the numbers that they have.
Whoa, NBC should be okay with the numbers they have, but I feel like they're going to cut at least one of the comedies by November sweeps. And prime candidate, Sunnyside.
Well, as long as you don't say Superstore, everything's fine. Everything's
Well,
fine.
it's not Superstore because it's still the highest rated of the comedies. But once you broke up Superstore and The Good Place started going a little bit.
But The Good Place is in this last season, so pretty much at this point in time, it's going to be out to syndication, and there you go. But I know a lot of people are forking it right now in regards to that, so we won't go there. Fox, but Fox has got a lot to talk about. In fact, their Friday nights did get somewhat of a boost, although from this time last year, it's not doing quite as well as what this time last year, but it is doing about 3 to 4 times what I've been reading, what their reruns that they were showing on those nights, let's say in September. The WWE SmackDown has come to Fox on Friday nights, has picked it up considerably on Friday nights. In fact, from the time that they were on USA at about 2.1 million viewers, now they're up to 3.5, 3.6 million viewers, which is a substantial leap. Let's see if they can hold on to that type of audience. There's always going to be a letdown of some type because you're not going to have The Rock on every episode. You're not going to have all the top former wrestlers that they had on those previous episodes. You're not going to have the same type of high caliber matches that they did on that episode. So we'll have to see long term, but if they're able to stay above 3 million viewers, I think that's a win for Fox and a win for WWE. I mean, I know a lot of people were asking for 4 million, but at least with Fox, 3.5 million is something not too bad for WWE SmackDown at this point in time. But there's also some other news from Fox as well.
Well, the biggest bomb that premiered on Fox was Almost Family, and that was last week with a 2.0 for The Masked Singer. And the retention probably was not as bad as CW's No Tomorrow from The Flash, but on broadcast, it's a really bad thing.
But Prodigal Son on Fox has really done well. That's something I think is going to be a hit for them long term because it does have that Silence of the Lamb feel.
And that's what, I mean, even with the lower lead-in and stuff, Prodigal Son actually has delayed viewing as an excuse.
But it's doing very well, and I think, like you said, I think you told me earlier that it got a full season pickup. So Fox seems to be very happy with what Prodigal Son is doing right now, and the future looks good going forward for Prodigal Son and for fans of that show. SmackDown, like I said, as long as it's able to maintain numbers over 3 million, I think that's a win. Anytime you get almost 1 million viewers switching from one network to another, I think that's always a decent sign. Almost Family is a dud. Yeah, it looks like a dud pretty much out the gate for that. But there's so much more to talk about when it comes to television. And again, I'm talking to Jessica Boggs from the TVRatingsGuide.com. You got to check out all the great stuff that she's doing there. CW. I want to say before we go into the bad, and usually there's a lot of bad when it comes to CW, I want to go ahead and say, you know what? Batwoman has really done surprisingly decent numbers out of the gate. It's gotten some good pub. It's gotten some good press, and I really appreciate the. It's nice to see that Batwoman with all the advanced all the advanced press, and unfortunately, some of the incidents that went on because Ruby Rose of Batwoman, I think, also said she's got sustained some injuries. So I'm hopeful that she'll be able to go ahead and continue the series. But your thoughts on Batwoman? How well has it done, and the rest of CW going right now? I mean, it's never a pretty sight for CW, but there are a couple of decent signs. And once again, I'm talking to Jessica Boggs from the TVRatingsGuide.com. You got to check out all that she's doing today at TVRatingsGuide.com. Want to check it out? No problem. They've got a whole bunch of stuff, including original content. They've also got that. In fact, the original content goes into a lot of great detail as far as almost setting up like shows. They've got a lot of scripts that you can follow that they created from scratch, kind of creating original shows that you can follow, almost like if you were watching a television network in and of itself. A lot of great things there at the TVRatingsGuide.com. Plus, they have articles. They also have blogs. They also have ratings news updates every single day on what's going on with the TV ratings world, plus also forecast long term whether the show is going to be canceled or not canceled. That's all available at the TVRatingsGuide.com. And Jessica, I want to ask you as you return with us here, one quick question to ask you is at the CW again, Batwoman is doing, I think, okay. It had a decent start. I want to talk about as well what other stuff that, even though despite the numbers, and it always comes down to a pathetic number. I think we're all waiting for that 0.0 like you're talking about with the CW. But what's going on with the CW, the good and the bad?
Well, so far, as I've seen all the shows premiere, no show has premiered at a 0.2 or a 0.1 or hit the blue tar ski yet. We're still waiting on Friday night. But we did see a show called Red Bull Peaking hit a 0.0 like 3 weeks ago in the ratings.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. All right. Nice to see that they put these shows even on the air. Just go back to local affiliate programming at that point in time. But anyways.
That was at the 9:30 hour.
Oh, man.
That was at the 9:30.
Figures. But I do want to ask you, Batwoman did come out to some decent numbers. Not overly great, but it came out to the point where it can be a viable show that they can build around long term.
I think it's correct. And maybe because it grew from the half hour, which is like a really good sign for it. And that helps Supergirl too with its ratings. So,
well, that's good. That's always a positive sign. I'm just worried about, when it comes to the long term of that show, because Ruby Rose did sustain an injury, I believe, during filming of one of the episodes. So I don't want to say her future there is in doubt, but I think the show may, has the show been put on hiatus because of it, or are they still trying to go ahead and film through the episodes that they're contracted to make?
they might put that on production hiatus, but I don't know about the production schedules in there, but so far so good with the ratings. But what the big highlight is, like for Monday, is I've seen All Americans numbers, and it's skewed pretty much younger than its later episodes, which is a pretty strong side. Like it's 1834 for the last few episodes was at a 0.1. This premiered to a 0.3 in the both 1834 and 1849.
So I'll tell you what, and those demos are always tough, and those are the key demos, obviously, for advertisers and what they look for as far as the age groups: 18 to 34, 18 to 49, 18 to 34 in that, especially that demo, because of the amount of spending that demo does, and that's why advertisers really target, and that's why television networks really target that demo. I want to ask you, though, as we head on out, because again, CW, we're going to wait and see how the numbers fall or how the numbers maybe stay with that network coming up in a November TV update. But I will ask you this: as before we head on out, I need you to give us an update on what's going on in the world of cable. Any surprising shows or numbers that are sticking out to you that you need to report on? I know AHS 1984 hasn't gone as well as hoped. I think it's dropped. I think the premiere dropped about half a point from the previous year, which I think is concerning to Fox. It still did a 1.0 from what I remember, but that's, like I said, half a point is half a point.
Well, after like week 2 and stuff, it's pretty much settled like zero 0.5 and 0.6s. Like it's still pretty good for FX standards.
Fair enough, fair enough. And then is there anything else in cable that you want to go ahead and point out? I know sci-fi is in such a mess right now. We talked about that earlier, but is there anything else that you want to point out when it comes to cable? I mean, The Walking Dead just premiered. It just premiered with some
Pretty,
disturbingly low numbers. I think that's probably the easiest way to say that. And I'm going to go ahead and delve into more of that on our Monday episode with Daphne Matthew. But I want to ask you your thoughts on what's going on with The Walking Dead and some of the other shows on cable that you wanted to report on.
The Walking Dead still ended up being the top rated show on AMC with a 1.4 in the demo. But I'm thinking they're doing more budget cuts as we speak.
Well, absolutely. Well, Denai Guerrera is leaving the show, so she's getting the chunk of change that she's getting paid for what she was doing on that show, but she's got so many different priorities because she's such a skilled actress. I cannot blame her for now with her success from Marvel and whatnot that she wants to go ahead and do other things. But I know Lauren Cohen is coming back next season, from what I hear, as far as the rumors are concerned, maybe because of her stuff that she did outside hasn't done very well. But be that as it may, I know that the numbers, even though, like you said, it's still the top show on AMC, that still can't be a promising sign because that is one of the lowest rated premieres of the series, if not the lowest. So that's a trend that they haven't been able to stop as of yet. It's been trending downward for years now, and it still looks like it's going in that direction, which is very sad for a lot of people, for a lot of longtime TWD fans. But be that as it may, is there anything else on cable that's sticking out to you right now?
Van Helsing on Sci-Fi premiered pretty weak, if I should say so myself.
And what numbers we're looking for Van Helsing?
Well, I did see a 0.07 for the premiere, which would mark cancellation on Sci-Fi. But as Sci-Fi is cleaning house at the moment.
As we indicated, yeah, sci-fi is really in a state of disarray. I think a lot of the shows that are underperforming, they've always had this low budget feel, this indie underground feel to a lot of their shows that I'm not sure a lot of people were able to get into. So, they have like this cult status, but when all of these shows have this cult status, it just tells me that they don't have any standout shows themselves that can draw a larger audience. They'll have all these shows that have a niche audience, and that's all they're catering to. And that's something I know that they want to go ahead and reevaluate at this point in time, especially with the shakeups, like I said earlier, at Universal. So we'll have to see how that goes. All right, that's an interesting report for this month. A lot of shows that you said are trending in one direction or the other. A lot of things that you want to take out of it, but as far as from the early returns so far this season. But before we head on out, Jessica, I want to hear an update on what's going on with your work at the TVRatingsGuide.com, and why should people tune in to the TVRatingsGuide.com?
Well, we got like all the ratings reports. We do have all the renew cancel columns, and we basically show our fates on like what shows are going to get renewed, what shows are going to get canceled. And it's going to be pretty hard with Fox because of the merger and its effects. But then
All right.
after that, you see all the TVRGO shows in between in there. Network is just premiered pretty strong on the site, which is pretty good news. And then we got Writer's Block coming on tonight as of this recording, or on Thursday night.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And then you also have your show, Jessica's show, that is now on Anchor and also so many different podcast outlets. What's coming up for your show this weekend for Jessica's show?
Well, we're talking more in detail about the CW, as well as talk about some music and books this week.
Fair enough indeed. Fair enough indeed. That is Jessica's show. You want to catch it today on either Anchor, Spotify, or any of the other major podcast outlets, including Apple Podcasts, where you go ahead and give her a 5-star review. Go ahead, give that show a 5-star review, just like you hopefully will do for ours as well. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for taking the time to talking to us today, giving us that update for the month of October on everything going on in the broadcast and cable TV landscape. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on what's going on for November. I know a lot of things are going to be updated even more. Some cancellations we're probably going to see take place by then. I think you're going to update us on that. That's always interesting to see what shows are already going to get the axe when it comes to what's coming up for broadcast television and cable television coming up in November as well. My friend, any last thoughts on the way on?
No last thoughts.
Well, fine then. We'll see how that shakes up then. All right.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
Just...
No worries. Once again, it's Jessica Boggs. You got to check out her work today on the TVRatingsGuide.com and catch her show, catch her podcast, Jessica's show, on every major podcast outlet. Jessica, it's always great to have you on the show as we're flipping the channels. Always check out your thoughts each and every month right here on the Pop Culture Cosmos.